What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Talk of the Tundra, your Green Bay Packers podcast for the Eurostep Podcast Network and the Blue Wire family. As always, I am your host, Numac, joined by my always pleasant, illustrious, and having a great night, I had to presume, Jordan Tresky. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, doing well. We are 1 week away from the draft. 1 week. Tick, 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 tick.
Bum, bada bum, bum, bum. Soon
Uh,
enough, those noises will be pleasantring our ears. That's not a word, but yeah, 6 days and a whole bunch of hours and X amount of minutes till the draft. 6 days, 20 hours, and 54 minutes to the minute here, according to Tankathon. So, but yeah, we're back after last week. We did the offensive draft targets the Packers should look at, and this week we are coming back with the defensive side of the ball. We're not doing special teams because if we're drafting a punter or kicker, I might have a problem. So just defense and offense we're doing
BJ Sander, come on down.
that. That misses me wholly and intently.
Do you know who that is?
No.
BJ Sander was a very accomplished punter out of Ohio State, this mid 2000s,
This is
um,
going.
early 2000s. Sorry, the Packers drafted him in the third round of the 2004 NBA NFL draft, and he lasted a year.
So he also had the third round draft curse that the Packers have.
Uh-huh.
It all started with B.J. Sander. That's what we can
Yeah.
put the blame on.
BJ,
Yeah,
William Herbert BJ Sander.
I don't know where you get B.J. from, but all right.
I don't know either.
I don't know. Not too much in the news stuff before we get into the actual targets and prospects and stuff like that for this week. Not too much. Really, the only news we have for you guys to quote unquote report on is updates to the Packers' top 30 visits that they've had since last week, Wednesday. So, last we knew last week was that they had Michael Mayer from Notre Dame visit, the tight end. Since then, they've had 10 more, including offensive lineman Antonio Maffei from UCLA, cornerback Tyreek Stevenson from Miami, wide receiver Cole Tucker from what I presume is Northern Illinois University, tight end Josh Wiley from Cincinnati, defensive back Jartavius Quan Martin from Illinois, edge slash outside linebacker Felix Anaduke Uzama from Kansas State, wide receiver Ryan Miller from Furman. If we're drafting a wide receiver from a college of Furman, that's crazy. Wide receiver Rashee Rice from SMU, outside offensive tackle Kadeem Telfort from UAB, University of Alabama, Birmingham, and then quarterback Tanner Morgan from Minnesota. So a couple of those I've looked at throughout my just various drafting things that we've talked about last week and this week. Particularly Rashee Rice, who has been not going to say like mocked to the Packers a couple times, but that was really it. Oh, and or no, that was it from what I saw at least.
Feels like a Packers draft darling.
Yeah,
See
I,
a lot of
it's it's the weird time where nobody has anything else better to do than to just go hard with mock
yeah.
drafts and start moving players up and down draft boards. Like it obviously happens from February until now because you have the combine and pro days and things like that. But now that the combine and pro days are done, there's basically just a lot of movement for no particular reason. One of my guys is at the not the detriment of that, but has been a victim of that per se. So we're just in that we just need to have next week come already. I'm so ready for the draft just to have to talk about who we got. That's
Yes.
what I'm most excited about.
Yes, very much so.
Notably, the 30 players that the Packers have interviewed and talked to before the draft, none are like mocked to go top 15. That was something that was going around Packers Twitter this week. Like Dalton Kincaid and Michael Mayer were like the top guys that they looked at, and none of them were. And even those guys weren't like generally mocked to go 15 or higher or 15 or better essentially.
Yeah,
So they weren't
they're
looking at
locked in.
like Peter Skronsky. They didn't talk to JSN. Um, who's the other
Mm,
guy? Lucas Van Ness. Not an interview. They might have talked about the combine, but
mm.
they didn't do like a top 30 interview with him.
I thought I saw some connection with him.
I don't think so, unless I'm looking that's wrong. But yeah, I don't think know if they talked to him, which is not concerning, but it's for the only JSN crew on Packers Twitter. It might be a little bit concerning. I guess before we get into who we're picking, what do you think the likelihood is that they trade back?
Trade back.
Mm-hmm. Because
I
go ahead.
in normal years I would expect some movement because I believe this is going to be Goody's sixth
I
draft.
think so.
I want to say at least two of them for sure he has dropped back or moved up. Um, not two. There's more than that. Now that I'm thinking about it,
Has he ever moved up without moving back first? Does that make
like the
sense?
love, basically like the love thing.
Yeah. I don't think he has. I don't think they've ever just like raw moved up without trading back first.
No, now that I think about it, even Christian Watson was
He
a
was second round too.
move back to
Yeah.
move up.
I don't even care to like I guess move up in the first round because like I think of like Jair Alexander and Darnell Savage that draft.
Darnold, yep.
Yeah, Jordan Love, same thing. Like I think they always draft.
Gary, what that was just their pick,
I
right?
think that was just a pick.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. I really
I ask because like this feels like a year they'd do that. I don't know why. Like just my vibes per se just feel like it. That
does this reflects the status of how people are looking at the first round. I believe I cannot remember who. I'm just throwing that out here. We all lost blue check marks. I saw this from people that were petrified. I believe there was a big NFL draft guy. Pardon me for not knowing who this was. I should probably have looked this up before, but I saw 17. He gave 17 first round draft grades. There are 31 first round picks this year.
yeah. So not great.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that maybe is indicative of how they might go about it. I wouldn't be too sad unless like JSN is there. If Jackson Smith Najigba is there and they don't pick him and instead trade back, that would be like quite annoying, frankly. But it's just like it's just tough knowing that we have all these needs. I should say all these needs. We have like three or four main needs, and I guess it depends on how far they fall back, right? And I don't know. I think I saw Peter Bukowski talk about if there's Lucas Van Ness, Miles Murphy, Jalen Hyatt, and I think Peter Skronsky at 15. Like, who do you pick? And if that's the case, but replace Jalen Hyatt because I'm not high on Jalen Hyatt in the first round, um, with like JSN or Zay Flowers. If all four of them are there at 15, I'd be willing to trade back three picks to get one of those guys to get another pick down like in the second round or something. Does that make sense? Like a pick swap and then get a pick somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because
I
like
get that.
I'm fine with all four of those guys. Like if it's Zay, Lucas Van Ness, Miles Murphy, and Peter Skronsky, or JSN, pick your wide receiver in that scenario. Like I'm fine getting any of those four versus pining over one of them.
That's fair. I mean the elephant in the room, and possibly this is the last week that we will have to talk about this.
Please, please.
Without actually something happening is the key way of talking about this. The whole Rodgers thing, because it is it going to be a draft night trade if something happens?
I
Um,
really hope it is.
I mean that if we go into because it's not going to have happen any other time of the draft. If we finish Thursday night's draft without an Aaron Rodgers trade, we are going to be asking ourselves if something happens, when would it actually
When
happen?
when will it happen? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But what do you do?
What do you, yeah, exactly.
So we'll hope. Well, we will certainly hope.
Yeah.
um, Jordan, should we get into it? So
I'm very invigorated.
good. I'm happy. Same thing as last week for the folks that didn't listen to the offensive one from last week. Jordan and I went through sort of the prospects that were around the Packers' current picks and not any other picks that we might get. So pick 15, pick 45, and pick 78 to see what players on the defensive side of the ball might be there. So, for example, Will Anderson from Alabama is currently mocked on Tankathon to go at 3. We didn't look at him as an option for the Packers to draft because he will likely be long gone by the time the Packers pick at 15. So, players around that middle first round range for the Packers target and who we'd like to see them pick if they were to go defense in the first, second, and third round. Obviously, this works in contrast to how it worked last week with the offense, since you can't have 2 picks with 1 pick. It's just our favorite targets on this side of the ball. So, without further ado, since you are so keen on getting started, Jordan, I will let you talk about who your first round pick at pick 15 is.
All right. Just throw down some names that caught my attention. Let me get out my notes, handy notes. A lot of edge guys that are within this range, and it doesn't feel like it's a reach or, they might get depend. I mean, we're a week out. This could easily change. This might not be what actually happens in reality, but seems like a lot of guys that are very talented as edge rushers. And yeah, you have Rashawn Gary, you have Preston Smith, still probably bolster that depth. Gary, it was a mid-season injury. Probably be ready for the start of the season, but I don't think they'll certainly be full reps as he works his way back from in recovery.
Yeah. Notably deep on the edge in this draft.
Notably, and this is kind of like, at least per mock drafts, this is where it kind of starts rattling off the board.
Mm-hmm.
Lucas Van Ness, you've mentioned multiple times. Nolan Smith, Miles Murphy. It's there not to just dwell on him because it feels like he was a prime, like if the first one to go off the board, it felt like it was him a couple months ago. Now that things get closer and closer, maybe people are overthinking or whatever. It seems like his star has fallen a bit. Is there a reason why?
I think a lot of it was he didn't. I don't think he had the best combine, and then I actually don't know if he performed at the combine. Give me 2 seconds to look. I don't.
He had an I have his RAS
I
score.
think that's from the his pro day.
Okay.
Yeah, he did not work out at the combine, so he did bench only, but he did his 40 yard, his 3 cone, and his agility stuff at his pro day. So part of that was not having testing results at the combine, which is when everybody gets like excited and starts moving up or down, as well as a sort of lackluster year from him for his senior year. But we'll talk about that later. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge.
Meanwhile, Packers have a serious need at the last line of their defense, safety. Not a great safety draft, and
Notably awful.
notably awful. And even the best safety, graded safety, from what I've been gathering, Brian Branch, uh, probably had what anybody could call a horrific athletic testing and all that stuff. I believe his RA, why can't you say that? RAS score
Yep.
was like five something,
Five.
5.27.
Yep.
Um, it's not the end all be all, but it does. I mean, it's the skeleton key for the Packers going to draft someone like that. Like it really holds a lot of weight of.
Right.
especially defensively. Um,
Also got that's
so
small, 5'11", and he didn't have a very good 40 time, 4.58. So
yeah, he's kind of on the
it,
slider
agile,
side.
the shuttle cone drill wasn't that good. His like agility grade, so it just like you said, a poor showing athletically, despite having a lot of tools to still be possibly a serviceable safety in the NFL.
I think, and I might echo something that Andy Herman, I saw him say this week. Um, be at the spot that they are at 15 with the depth of edge rushers, defensive players that could really help this team. Best player available
Yep.
is the end all be all. It would be hard to pass up on a guy like Miles Murphy, who is just supremely superior. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I get it. I think if you're are you going with Miles Murphy?
Yeah,
Okay, we have the same pick then.
yeah.
So go for it. Talk about him.
I I understand the concerns of like you have all these athletic gifts. It's not necessarily seen in the production. Um, I I think I just it's like Rashawn Gary. It really is like Rashawn Gary again of like um Rashawn Gary was like the top prospect coming out of his class.
Mm-hmm.
I believe Miles Murphy was the same thing. I could be wrong.
Yep.
Or no, I'm mixing it
Nope.
up with
Nope. You're right. He was a 5-star recruit, and he was the number one strong side defensive end in 2020.
um he still did really well at Clemson. Like I know it's not like, palpable, number one pick level elite kind of prospect coming out of college, but like the things that he can do and the size that he brings to the table or the field.
Mm-hmm.
um like I just don't see how that doesn't work out. I really don't. Like I this is like feel more than anything, but like you just watch someone that is incredibly athletic, dominant, even like it's not just like pure athleticism. He does things that like you do to, more scrappier guys, not so people that don't have his athletic gifts, like his technique or discipline, whatever it is that you want to call it, but like he just has it all. And it's like, yeah, the production could certainly be better, but I just think like that's going to be elevated in a pro level sense that like you're already coming from a pro level team. Clemson
Mm-hmm.
has elevated itself that much over the last, decade, if not more.
Yeah, decade.
Um, I don't know. It's can't miss guy, best player available, all that stuff. Just give it a go.
Yeah, I would strongly agree with that. He's a certified athlete. Like we talk about the sort of poor showing for the RS score um, for Brian Branch out of Bama. Miles Murphy, exact opposite, 9.71 out of 10. Um, he's 6'5", 268 pounds, so he's a big boy, and he ran a 4.53. He ran a faster 40 than Brian Branch did, which is certified insanity. Like Jordan, like you and I are both relatively tall and like kind of got relatively bigger dudes. Imagine
Mm,
being able to run like that fast. Like we don't run that fast. Like
no,
people our size
I
don't
don't
run that
walk that
fast.
fast.
Right.
That's probably what it is.
Yeah. So 6'5", 268, big guy. Had a great shuttle score. Had a great three cone or average three cone score, but still pretty high. Um, his main moves are he's kind of like a bull rusher, but he has a one handed bull rush. So off the snap, puts his big arm out and starts pushing the guy back with his other arm, and then uses his second free arm to work a secondary move, whether that's to break the the hold or the blocking of the tackle with his other arm or spin and kind of swim through. So I thought that was a relatively, I'm not gonna say unique, but I guess new to me seeing someone utilize that sort of bull rush, which was really cool to see, just to have incorporate different ways that he can get to the quarterback if need be. You talked about it that he was like we first started looking at this. I think he was going like 7 or something. Currently, Tankathon has him going all the way down. Unless I missed him. Sorry for vamping. 19 to the Bucks. So that's a pretty significant drop. 12 as opposed to like Lucas Van Ness did the opposite. He was going mid 20s and now he's up at 14 to the Patriots. So
Hmm.
I don't think it's anything worth to look at. One of the the knocks on him is that he never really got better as a pass rusher. In his 3 seasons at Clemson, he had 4 sacks his first year, 7 sacks, and then 6.5 sacks, 3, 2, and 1 forced fumbles, and then 1, 2, 3 pass deflections. Average amount of tackles each year 51, 43, 45. So he didn't like get better over his time at Clemson, but I have to shout out the athletic writer again, Dane Brugler. He for again his beast draft guide, like his draft program essentially, using these metrics there. And he talked about how that or not he didn't talk about. I watched a different analysis video that the Clemson D corner, I think it was Brett Venables, left after 2022 or after
Yeah.
2021. So everybody on the defensive line for Clemson just had a worse year, which
Yep.
kind of then points to like, okay, maybe that's why Miles Murphy didn't have the best final year of college. So, but yeah, he's a third year junior, big guy. I'm with you. He's a certified athlete. You call them like predator in our call in the Zoom call yesterday
Oh yeah.
before the Bucks pod. I think that's a great way to do it. He doesn't in like the tape I watched doesn't do the best against the run. He's like that's his like one drawback, and he can kind of lose himself trying to set the edge. Like he collapses the pocket too much to then let the edge or let the edge go on set. I guess if that's how you want to say it, and then allow for quarterbacks to get outside. So all that can be learned. For what it's worth, his RAS score, the two like there's 5 people that RAS gives like equal comparisons to. His first one is Preston Smith, and his third one is Rashawn Gary. So
Interesting.
I've seen
Wow.
like other people like comp him to Preston Smith or comp him to Rashawn Gary.
Yeah.
So I'm just fine doing that because like obviously with Preston's upcoming contract situation, why not have 2 Rashawn Gary esque edge rushers? That seems like a pretty good idea to me, frankly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
even if he's like not an immediate impact guy or he switches like snaps between Preston Smith and Miles Murphy his rookie year, that's just even better. I think having an effective rusher opposite of Rashawn Gary is very effective and very needed so that one of the two are getting home. Like you're gonna have to account for both of them and you can't double both of them without having sort of an ineffective passing game.
Yeah.
I want to go through the couple of other guys that I looked at. I did look at Brian Branch too. I was really close to actually making my pick him because we need a safety and man, they're not the best going forward and we need one like desperately. We can't really go into the year with Darnell Savage and Rudy Ford back there.
Jonathan.
Yeah. So, but like the biggest thing for me was that I talked to Tommy in our Discord. Shout out Tommy. Is that he's not really a safety. He's more of a nickel corner. He's more like just like a slot corner. And like if you want to go best player available if they trade back, which again we're not really getting into that, but like Brian Branch just like is a football player. Great tackler. He's fast. I should say fast. He didn't have the greatest like speed, but he plays faster than I think his athletic score proved. Like I watched a lot of Brian Branch tape trying to figure out if I want to pick him. Like probably a solid 2 hours just trying to see like if I really want this guy at
Yeah.
15. And he plays a lot faster down like attacking than he does defending, if that makes sense. Like he's better going towards the line of scrimmage than he does playing coverage. Like he gives a lot of cushion in coverage, and I think that's a big problem, especially with how the Packers play defense and just Joe Barry's defense
Mhm.
in general. I'd rather have my corners be pressing rather than giving 10 yards of cushion. And so that's kind of ultimately why I didn't really go for it, is that we have, I guess, three starting corners if you want to go that route. So that I think the value was really there, but overall, he's a great multi-tool guy. I kind of mocked him as like, if you drafted Brian Branch at 15, you'd basically be getting like Quay 2.0, but as a secondary player. Like, just
Yeah, I can see that.
plays fast, has great recognition of plays, can tackle, just like that's kind of what it is. But I ultimately didn't feel that Quay in the secondary in Brian Branch was really worth that pick at 15.
Yeah.
Also looked at Lucas Van Ness. Um, didn't like didn't hate him, didn't love him. He was never a starter at Iowa because of some seniority bullcrap that Iowa does. Like, they start their seniors, and they, even if you're better, you don't get to start. Um, but he was good at shutting the blocks in the run game, but he got stuck a lot of the times there. A lot of his highlights, I didn't really care for his actual moves. Like, he's strong, like really strong, a lot big bull rush guy. But a lot of his highlights that I watched, it looked like it was against sort of lackluster offensive tackles. So that's ultimately why I went with Miles Murphy, because he was just blowing me away with his athleticism.
Nolan Smith was a guy that I looked at too, that he's kind of been in
Another guy
that
that came out of nowhere.
range.
Like, I just not
Yeah,
that came out of nowhere because he's been around, but like I
Georgia
never looked at
too.
him until like the last week. I was like, oh, who is this Nolan Smith guy?
Yeah. Um, Interesting. Doesn't necessarily have. I mean, he's going to be a good football player. That I'm not going to doubt that. But like, there was just something kind of missing. I don't know what it was. I don't know if he's a little undersized. I think it's like 6'2", 238, which is pretty. You know, that's that's definitely on the lighter side, even considering like how slimmed down like edge rushers ends are at this point.
Yeah, he had his
Um,
RAS score has elite ratings in explosion and speed, but very poor ratings and just size. So
yeah. But heck of a football player. I think even PFF had like a they deemed him as like one of the more total like packages in terms of like he's not only a great, you know, compressor of the quarterback, but like
mhm.
in the run defense, he's really good too,
Yeah,
which is not nothing considering you gotta factor that in. But
yeah.
yeah,
RAS comps of Trent Cole. I think he was a really good
yeah.
guy for the Eagles, right?
Eagles.
Eagles, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hassan Reddick and Vic Beasley. So kind of pick your poison of how you
Let's
want to.
hope. Let's hope two of the three. Even
Yeah,
though Big Beasley was
Vic
pretty
Beasley
good to
wasn't bad.
start.
He was like an average NFL player for a few
Yeah.
years. Um, so yeah, but he's got the G already, so he might just be a Packer already because he played for Georgia. I suppose it's my turn, huh? For second round.
Yeah, I led off, and we both synergized our
Boy,
picks.
boy, howdy, did I not like this pick. I just, I couldn't,
Mm.
I couldn't find a whole lot of value that I really fell in love with in the second round. Um, I thought I gotta go look at his name because I don't want to butcher it again because I felt so bad last week. The young man from Northwestern, whose name I really don't want to butcher again because I felt so bad.
I can say it for you.
Go ahead, please say it for me.
Adatama, Adatamiwa Adabare.
Thank you, appreciate it. He was going on Takeathon to 35 to the Colts, and 10 picks was a little too far for me to think that he was in the range of the Packers to be able to pick up. So if that was the case, I would probably have picked him as well. Um, but not there. Didn't see the need for a backer like Jack Campbell out of Iowa. And then I took a look at Antonio Johnson from Texas A&M. He's a safety. Didn't really like his game as well. So ultimately, and this might get a lot of flack from everybody who's listening, I decided to go with a boom or bust player, which is interesting to say for a second round pick. But again, I had more analysis for my third round pick. So I decided to go with Keely Ringo from, you guessed it, Georgia.
Pele Ringo.
Yep. Cornerback, real fast, 6'2", and ran a 4.36 at the combine.
Jeez.
Yeah, real fast.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
So he's as tall as every wide receiver he's going to face. Most likely, like, I think the tallest guys that you're going to face on the outside, like Julio Jones is like 6'4". I think, like, even like the really tall guys like Megatron was like 6'6". So that's as tall as you're really going to get. And so, like,
Is Justin Jefferson tall? I
no,
feel like
he's shorter. He's like
he is.
5'11", 6 feet. Yeah.
Feels like he's taller.
No, he's a quick little guy. Um, but a lot of boomer bust potential. Like, he has a lot of athleticism and a lot of like skill, but he's one of those guys that his technique and his playmaking ability goes in flux a lot. Like, his coverage kind of lacks at some points while still being able to show highlights of being in a guy's hip pocket and covering him all the way through. So let me pull up his draft profile quickly and his combine stuff. He had 2 interceptions his sophomore year, or his redshirt sophomore year. Yeah. Yeah, redshirt sophomore year, and then 2 his junior year this past year. 34 tackles and 42 tackles. He was all freshman SEC his in 2021, and led the team in pass deflections with 10. So he's really active as a cornerback, getting his hands into that catch radius of the receiver. And then second team all SEC his redshirt sophomore year. So again, just really freak athlete, and I'm just worried about Eric Stokes is what motivated this, truthfully.
Interesting.
Just because, like,
Elaborate.
he was not having the best year before his injury last year. Like, we were really high on Eric Stokes his rookie year. Thought he was doing very well. And then coming into this past year, we were hoping for some sort of steps to start playing a little better. And it felt like he kept getting burned and was just not having the greatest year before he got hurt. And so, I guess those two things combined for me are like, okay, he was coming off of a poor performance at the start of the year, and he got hurt and was out for the last, what, 7, 8 games. And so,
Yeah. Basically missed half the season.
yeah. And so we've got Jair and we've got Razul. Like that, I'm good that way. Like, those guys should be the 1 and 2 corners. But drafting a boomer bust guy, and I guess with this pick, gives the Packers the opportunity to say, hey, we're set with Jair, we're set with Razul. If Stokes turns out not to be developing the way we want him to, we possibly have this like mini Jair just sitting here waiting to develop. And hopefully that we can develop him into a boom prospect versus busting out on him. It's one of those picks that I don't think would get like Goody fired, but it'd be one of those picks where shout out Ty Windish, he's like, man, the whatever team, the Jaguars or whoever team took
The Josh Jones
took
legacy
Brian
pick.
Anger, the punter, over Russell Wilson in like the 5th round or 3rd round, whenever it was.
Yeah.
Like, it's just one of those things where it's like all these good players were right there, but we took the bust. So that was kind of my analysis on it. Just because there wasn't anybody else falling in love with at 45 there, I'd rather, if that's the case, if we're taking defense in the 1st round, like, I'd much rather just go offense of any other guys I talked about last week in the 2nd round versus who is currently there for the Packers in the 2nd round this year or this week.
Interesting. I like the reasoning behind it. I mean, Stokes is it's a big year for him.
It's a really big year, and I think like that's my worry is that if it's a really
Impetus.
big year and it's a really bad year, then I correct me if I'm wrong. I'm looking it up now, but I'm pretty sure Razul's deal is up after this year.
He signed a 3-year deal. but I'm sure there's some kind of out.
They do have an out after. Or no, this year was his out. He's a
Mm,
free agent 25, so never mind. So no, we still have a couple years left of Russell Douglas and Jair if they keep them both on the roster. Like I think I remember correctly now. Their issue this year was if they're going to keep Russell or if he'd be a cap casualty because they had their out this year.
that's right. Yes.
So
Yes.
now that they restructured, and they don't have it out now. He'll likely be on the roster for until his contract ends in 25. So I'm fine that way, but as a nickel corner, as a dime corner. If you want one of these guys, it's not Eric Stokes. I'm good by it. If Rosal moves to safety, which is an option or possibly a solution, if they can't find a good safety replacement, then you have Jair, Eric Stokes, and Kelly Ringo. So it was a lot of hardship in my brain, sort of going back and forth of what I really wanted out of this pick, and ultimately it just wasn't a defensive player. Frankly, it's someone on offense, but um, I had to go through the activity, so I did.
Um, I looked at a lot of people, a lot of positions. Um, throw out some names before I reveal. Felix Anaduke Azuma, BJ Ojulari, interior lineman Keanu Benton, Wisconsin Badgers zone. Kind of interesting. Mazzy Smith, Trenton Smith, a linebacker from Clemson, was just kind of interesting. I like these. For lack of a better word, tweeners, where it's like, okay, clearly play football. We don't know where your position is, but
Yeah,
you're talented enough to be on the field.
yeah.
I'm always intrigued by guys like that. I think that's probably just the NBA
That's
nerd in me. Of
Brian
like,
Branch. He's a tweener. He doesn't really
yeah.
have. He's just a. He's a slot safety.
Antonio Johnson looked at as well.
Yep.
The Illinois safety, one of the Illinois safeties,
Yep. There's a couple of
uh,
them.
Martin, who is a Packers visit as well.
Hmm.
Um, I'm ready to just lay it out here.
Yeah, I'd hope he would be.
Um, Apologies for how I'm going to step over his name again. Adatame wa Adabare.
The Northwestern guy.
No, he is going to be really good.
You think so?
Yes.
So you're going two edge rushers in the first and second round.
The thing about him is that he, again, kind of goes into this tweener vibe. They kind of put him all over the line. I should have had my PFF numbers for this because if you watch, if you grind the tape, um, he was not just a strict, on the side, you strictly edge rusher. He was very much lined up in different spots
Hmm.
on the defensive line. I'm bringing it up right now. Uh, Pass rush snaps. They don't really have him like. Oh, here we go. Last year he had 374 of his 712 snaps on the outside tackle, so that edge rusher. He has 261 snaps over the B gap. So
Okay.
like basically like the tackle, Kenny Clark,
Right.
whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
Um, do we get into just like how freaking athletic he is?
Yeah. Go ahead.
I will read this PFF blurb verbatim. Adebayor, oh good lord, is one of the single freakiest athletes in NFL combine history. His 4.49 second 40-yard dash is the fastest ever for a player, 280 plus pounds by 0.16 seconds. Um, Super explosive. Um, 6'2", I think 280 to 90 range or whatever it is.
Hmm.
Um, I I don't know. There's just something about him that just it's the guys like Miles Murphy or probably even higher up like you know, Will Anderson or um I'm forgetting another like top tier edge rusher. Like those guys are
Tyree
like,
Wilson.
yes, yes. Those guys are like, oh yeah, that's their top 10 picks, elite recruits. This feels like whoever lands him, um, again, I'm going to butcher your name, Adibare. Um,
I can't laugh.
and if whoever lands him, it's going to be a coup. I just I don't, unless, not going to win for him.
What?
If
What? It's gonna be a what?
it's going to be a coup for the team that selected him,
I was
not him.
very confused,
I
Jordan.
know.
I was
It's gonna
wondering.
be a coup for him because he got drafted. I don't know. I think it's someone that you honestly see like in a trade back scenario from in the first round.
Hmm.
If you feel like he is a guy that you need to get, if you grade him as a first round prospect,
Right.
go back and get him. Like I don't see how he get last to 45. So I know it's a stretch to put him as a second round pick,
Right.
but he is someone that clearly can play, gives versatility, and I don't know. I just think like for my reasoning too, just to wrap my long-winded thoughts, um, it would be great to see the front line just have between Kenny Clark, Devontae Wyatt, add in Adibare, get better. Um, just if you you can bring in that like versatility or just people that command so much attention from the offensive line, and then you're not even getting into like Preston Smith,
Right.
Sean Gary when he's healthy, maybe another edge rusher, Enigbari. I don't know. That will make the Packers defense a lot more fearsome than it has looked in you know quite some time.
All of his green on the RAS score. Uh, the lowest number is his shuttle score at a 9.84. He has a,
So
a bit of a
crazy.
weird size grade. He's, I think, a little too short, and a little too heavy, but still strong. And had a 10 and 40-yard dash. He's the fastest for a defensive tackle slash edge rusher. So yeah, I'm with you. I just don't think he's gonna be there.
No, definitely not. But he is a very interesting trade back candidate.
Yep.
I basically have worked my 40, the second round pick as like, this is who you do, who you get if you trade back kind of thing.
Right. Got it. Got it. Okay. Third round. I can go. I'll go. Unless you want.
Oh,
Unless you're dying to go.
I'll let you go. You're chomping at the bit.
I looked at two guys. Well, I'm chopping at the bit.
Really?
Chopping at the bit because I my second round pick was dog water. I just I wasn't proud of it.
Dog water.
Full of slobber, gross, stale. Looked at two guys. Zach Pickens, um, another interior. I think is an interior lineman, from South Carolina, and Jordan Battle, the safety from
Mm,
Alabama.
okay.
The I'll start with Zach Pickens because I picked Jordan Battle. Spoiler alert. Um, Primary a bull rusher, just pure strength kind of guy, and really lacked the moves that I wanted to see out of like a defensive tackle. But he's strong and very durable. I think he played all of his games at South Carolina. He would be a bit of a project, and he seems kind of redundant with Kenny Clark and then Devontae Wyatt, and then bringing him into the mix along with just the other guys they have on the roster already. Some of his motor looked inconsistent. He would be the first off the ball on some snaps and last off the ball in others. But again, strong guy, and just an athlete. Frankly, he had a 9.22 RS score, a 4.89 40-yard dash, and really explosive on his broad jump. So he stays low and really just attacks the offensive lineman he's going after. Just big boy too, big, big,
Big boy.
big boy. 6'4", 290. Big boy. So, um, high floor. He really anchors himself well. Like he's off the ball. He's not getting pushed back by the offensive lineman and just kind of holding his ground if he needs to. If he's not actually getting forward on a rush. But as I said, ultimately I picked Jordan Battle, 4-year starter at Alabama, a safety. He fits, not fits, but he fills the need if of safety in this draft. Um, he was comped as an Adrian Amos type of guy, and I frankly see it a lot when I saw him tackling.
Mhm.
He has tackling inconsistencies, but I think in a lot of the same ways we saw last year with Adrian Amos making like wow plays behind the line of scrimmage and just like surprising like shoestring tackles as a result of not tackling properly. That's what I saw a lot of Jordan Battle's tape. Um, he struggles to move laterally across the field, but has great downhill speed. Like he again reminds me a lot of Adrian Amos. And when he hits hard again, like Mr. Amos. So um, I think him being experienced is my biggest plus for him. 4-year starter, played all the games in his career with Bama, 13 games, 13, 15, and 13. Only a couple picks. He had 6 total picks, 3 his junior year, 1 in the rest of his years. But he had experience on, I think, punt returning as well, and just was consistently all SEC and all American. So I think the biggest reason I picked him was the experience. 4 years at Bama as a starter is something to hang your hat on.
Yep.
And at worst, I'm fine if he's like serviceable. If he's not better than Darnell Savage, then okay, oh well, we can try again next year. But I think just having that experience and being able to translate his what 54 games of playing time into the NFL is I think a simple enough task for him since he was under uh, Nick Saban's tutelage all those years. So yeah, I'm good with Jordan Battle. I think he would be maybe not a like day one starter, but it gives them at least an option outside of Darnell Savage and Rudy Ford.
Um, Battle was someone I looked at a lot too. I honestly, the third round, I'm not gonna lie, was all safety
It kind of had to be right.
prospects. Kind of had to be, and it kind of feels like this is where they are. Like a good crop of them are. Battle being one of them. Sidney Brown was a guy that was kind of interesting
Right.
too. He was the other Illinois safety, coming off a really good year too. But you know, wasn't my pick. Um, who else? There's someone else that was missing. Um,
Jair Brown from Penn State.
yes, that was another guy that I looked at too. Like, I don't know. It is so like it very well is the opposite of like I know we're focusing on the defensive side of the ball, but
Hmm.
like it's the opposite of the tight end problem that the Packers are facing,
Right.
and it's maddening.
It's maddening.
Like I totally forgot that they made this move because it has just been that quiet of an offseason outside of one Pat McAfee appearance. Um, but I forgot that they signed Tarvarius Moore from 49ers.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, so I was
I
like
totally forgot about that.
totally because I'm thinking like, well, if Savage is forward, it's
Right.
Amos is probably good as gone, even though he is still unsigned.
I thought
But
he
I
went to the
was
Ravens.
no,
No, that was just rumored.
I I don't think he's
Yeah. No, you keep going. I'll look it up.
um in the end,
Doesn't even matter.
I
Sorry for interrupting. I had there's a Lincoln Park there that you lobbed to me like that. I can't just say anything. Sorry. Go ahead. I apologize.
I think my big thing with the safety, I'm gonna get close to the mic because I was doing gesturing. Big thing with safety is okay, Adrian Amos set a really high standard.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, notwithstanding, he played a perfect role for this Packers team or past Packers teams. And yeah, he's not like this overwhelming, like, I don't know. Um, who's the best safety in the league right now? I can't think of
Who's
any
the two
quote.
guys from Cincinnati? Why can't I think of their names?
Jesse Bates.
Jesse Bates is one of them.
Um, he's not like the elite, like Earl Thomas. Like this guy is the top
Yeah.
safety.
Minka Fitzpatrick, obviously.
Yes, yeah. Um, but made plays really did like he was just so well rounded in that he helped the Packers address or shore up some of their more deficiencies like run defense and made plays when it counted when he was blitzing or came up with like a clutch interception, whatever it was.
Right.
It was just so like the fact that they didn't have that much problems in that side or when he was on the field before this year, kind of just you take something like that for granted.
Right.
So with a lot of the guys that you're looking at around this part, it's like, okay, you're not going to get a complete package. It's either these guys are really good in or pass defense and doing the necessary things to close gaps or
Right.
make ball hawk plays, or they're really good at stuffing the run, stuffing out plays as they develop, kind of thing. It's not it feels like right now there are only maybe a rare handful that can like transcend both,
Yeah.
and it's makes it really tough to be like, well, what do you want
Yeah.
out of your safety?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah. No, I totally get it. I think it like I like your opposite comparison to the tight end problem the Packers have. Packers have problems at tight end and safety this coming into this offseason. Tight end, super deep in this draft. They have
mm-hmm,
the pick of the litter at any pick they want to pick a quality tight end. Safety, not deep, not gonna be a sure thing whatsoever. So we shall see.
yeah,
Notably, the only safety that the Packers visited with was Jordan Howden from Minnesota, who is currently getting projected from Dane Brugler's draft beast into the sixth, seventh round. So take
unheralded.
yeah, so take that as
Yeah.
you may. Just like a project if they can grab him late. So
Um, Jamie Robinson, Florida State,
yep,
um, caught my eye. I think he kind of brings a level of um, playmaking ability, whether it's as a safety or on the line. There's a lot of guys that are like they're. I don't know. I'm not as well versed with college football, so I'm just like seeing different things that I'm used to seeing
yeah,
in like the NFL.
right.
But like seeing guys like Sidney Brown is another one. He's playing like a linebacker or a box safety, as they
Mm.
will call it, and stuff like that, as they call it.
that's
Um,
that's Micah Hyde, not Micah Hyde. Yeah, Micah Hyde was a box safety.
See, that's what I kind of thought like that would be. I mean, he was very good with the Packers and has been very good with the Bills. Like that, I don't know. Maybe that's what they could get in this draft, but I don't know. Jamie Robinson was kind of the guy that stood out to me of like, so you're sorting throughout this like Jordan Battle. I don't really have any qualms with. I think he's going to be a good player. Just kind of one of those guys that does have like all the tools.
Right.
Um, I think Jamie Robinson kind of has it too. Like he just made plays. Florida State was kind of in shambles, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Um,
Up and
fallen
down.
from
Up
grace.
and down.
Yeah, up and down. Um, but really has a nose for the ball. Um, undersized, but plays bigger than that,
Yeah.
obviously. Um, I don't know. He was someone that really kind of just stood out to me and just brought a bit of an edge and intensity that I would like to see from this safety position, considering it's just so we really have no idea.
Yeah.
I have very low expectations for this area on the
Grab a
roster.
dart, close your eyes, throw at the board.
Yep. But yeah, Jamie Robinson.
Notably spells his name with two M's,
Yes,
which is interesting.
jam me.
Yep. And with that, folks, that draws an end to our defensive draft targets. I think the front end of this draft is going to be more fun than the late end of this draft for defense. Like, I think we could find edge and tackles deep into the fifth, sixth round. Um, but I think there's always been a couple guys that sort of show out in training camp and preseason in the late rounds that we can definitely still get excited about. But um, next week Thursday, the draft's here, Jordan. We're only a week away.
Finally,
Finally,
finally.
um, promotion time, folks. We'll stay on topic with the draft. Your lovely co-host, yours Trusley's, will be hosting a live stream of the draft on our YouTube page next Thursday when it goes live. So 7 o'clock is when the draft starts. We'll be live around then. Like everybody knows, the NFL draft is notoriously, I guess, long and just full of fluff. It doesn't go nearly as fast as I guess the NBA draft, which is also kind of long, but
All dressed
all
along.
drafts are long, and the NFL is the worst one of them all
Yeah.
when it comes to production time and the whole 9 yards. So we'll be in there. We'd love for you to join us. We'll have the live stream talking just through every pick and kind of keep an eye on who's going, where the runs are coming from, things like that. And then afterwards, we'll have a pod that will be up the next morning talking about who they pick and sort of our expectations for the rest of the draft and how they do it. We could be there for a very long time, depending on the Packers trade back, or could just be there till the 15th pick and we'll see how it goes. So we'll hang out for a little bit. It'll be a lot of fun regardless. Thankfully, no Bucks game that night, so you guys don't really have an excuse not to be there. So
Well,
you kind of just gotta show up and support.
also, I don't believe the Brewers play either.
See, you guys, like, come on.
Come on. Come
So
on.
yeah, join us. We'd love for you. We'd love for you to come hang out and then share our excitement when they ultimately trade back.
No
Oh,
Brewers game.
no Brewers game, man.
Mhm.
It's just Packers Day, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
All about Taco Tundra. We might get some guests. I think we're not beholding him to this. Not that we've talked about it yet, but we could have one Andrew Snyder on as his Panthers take a quarterback, likely, hopefully, please, for Andrew's sake, that the first pick. So have him talk about it, get his feelings on it. Just have some of the co-hosts on, see what they want to do. So come join us. YouTube.com/, I think it is Eurostep Podcast Network. It's either that or GSPN, I forget. But if you go to GSPN.info, you can just go there anyways. So
Yes.
as always, we love Repod. Go join us on Repod, listening, building the community, and just kind of having a place to talk sports and podcasts now that it's 420 and Twitter verifications just don't exist anymore. So there's a new place to talk pods. So go check it out over at Repod. I think it's joinrepod.com/talkwithtundra. So
Yep.
go check it out over there. And now for the GSPN promotions. Bucks are in the thick of their playoff hunt, or playoff efforts. They're in the playoffs. Let's go with that. They absolutely trounced the Miami Heat the other night, and myself, Jordan, Adam, and Rohan, not Adam, myself, Jordan, Ty, and Rohan all were talking about the win. It was a whole lot of fun, so go check that out on the Bucks feed. Cruising for a Bruising just dropped a pod on Wednesday today, talking about the Brewers sweep of the Mariners and finishing out, I think, if my math is right, a 7-3 road trip, which is I think the Brewers' best West Coast 10-game road trip record they've had in the Brewers' history, which was like a very weird baseball ass stat, but that's what it is.
Mm.
Go check that out with Adam and Andrew. And then make time for this is dropping an episode today, Friday, as you're listening to this. It's, yeah, yeah, that's the right day. On the movie Air, the Nike shoe movie, which I have yet to see, but I've heard it's a lot of fun. So go check that out. They always have, again, that's Adam and Andrew, always have a lot of great pop culture sort of junk drawer pods over there. Also, Succession, if you haven't caught up, catch up. It's a lot of fun over there. They had a pot episode on that as well. So, with that being said, Jordan, did I miss anything?
No, they that covers our bases. Again, there's no Wisconsin sports going on the next Thursday night, April 27th. Yes, that's right. Um, we will be doing a live stream for the NFL draft.
Our first live
Ah,
stream.
our
Our
first
first.
live stream. Yes, of course. Tot.
Hot.
Tot.
So hot.
It's tot out the presses, guys. It's tot out the presses.
All right, folks. Thank you so much for listening. Go follow at Packers GSBN, at Jordan Tresky to follow Jordan, at Numac Zone to follow me. Like, rate, review, 5 stars on Spotify. Haven't done that in a while. So all of you new listeners would love for you to go rate 5 stars, rate 5 stars only. Would really appreciate it. And if you leave a review, I get to read it on stream. I haven't looked in a very long time, but I will get back to it and read them. So, all right, folks. Thanks for listening. Jordan, thank you.
Thank you.